Let's get to former U.S. Ambassador to Bolivia, Victor Manuel Rocha, accused of spying for Cuba.
A former U.S. ambassador accused of espionage is bringing back Cold War memories for many Americans. The FBI claims Victor Manuel Rocha, a retired State Department official, was also a spy for the Castro regime in Cuba starting in the 1980s. He has not
American hero, dog.
To the charges. Manuel Rocha has more on the undercover operation that exposed Rocha's alleged covert activities.
This action exposes one of the highest reaching and longest lasting infiltrations of the U.S. government by a foreign agent.
Attorney General Merrick Garland vowed he would utilize the full force of the Justice Department against Victor Manuel Rocha, a former ambassador to Bolivia and career government official.
Between 1981 and 2002, Rocha was employed at the State Department and held a number of senior positions.
Much respect to this guy. For the record, I'll just say it like this. I don't know if this guy actually is a spy. I know that, like, I heard about the operations. I heard about how they got him. They got an FBI guy to portray themselves as like a Cuban diplomat, I guess, to get him to like leak secrets. But I'll say it like this. Free my man. Free him. Why? Come on, man. He didn't get it. He got away with it. He got away with it for so many years. And he did it for Cuba. Cubans got nothing, dog. Come on. Come on now. They got nothing. What did he get? What did he get out of this? What did Cuba get out of this? Pretty much nothing. Let him have it. Let him spy on America. I say, let him out.
In the U.S. government.
Federal prosecutors say after receiving a tip, an undercover FBI agent posed as a Cuban foreign agent and contacted.
What you are lauding is alleged treason? Bitch, I don't give a f***. What do you mean? There's treason and then there's treason, okay? What do you mean he's doing treason for Cuba, dog? There's not a country more deserving of its spy network operating within American boundaries than... No. This is not the life form of treason. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm on his side. There's not a single country on the planet more deserving of being able to spy on the United States of America than Cuba. That's it. I'm pro-Cuba. I'm anti-America on this issue. I'm pro-Cuba on this issue. What are the Cubans going to do with all the information? What are they going to do?
Last year, they say they met 3 times in this busy Miami neighborhood. During these meetings, Rocha allegedly claimed his involvement with Cuban intelligence went back almost 40 years. He boasted, "What we have done, it's enormous, more than a grand slam," referred to the United States as the enemy, and said his #1 priority was protecting the Castro regime. Prosecutors have not yet specified what information.
The GOAT, my legend, my liege. Respect to this man. So much respect to this man. I hope he can escape to Cuba.
They believe Rocha shared. John Carlin is a former top national security prosecutor.
So he had the ability to gain and then share information that would thwart U.S. agencies' ability to collect intelligence on Cuba on the one hand, but on the other hand, he also was one.
Yeah, by the way, that's the real reason why people are pissed. Because he probably identified American spies, dumbass, in Cuba. Like, as though we need to spy on these motherfuckers, bro. We already crippled them with our sanction regime. We already have tried to assassinate Castro 600 times for the crime, unironically, of the crime of going against the American prop dictatorship of Batista. Get the f*** out of here. You could suck. Yeah, born too late to win a Hero of the Soviet Union medal. Oh my God. There has never been a more like morally black and white open and shut case of like this guy is right and America is wrong situation than the Cuban situation. Just an awful take. No, listen, brother, I love you, 7-month subscriber. I do. But I'm going to tell you right now, you are on the wrong side on this, I think.
The key official.
Nobody yell at the chatter. Stop. Don't do that. Don't yell at the chatter. I hate when you guys do that.
Forming our policy.
Is there more stuff on this guy or what? I want to know more about this beautiful boy. Absolute legend. Also, at the same time, not the best spy. Let me tell you why. Because, like, honestly, the embargo's still there. I mean, I guess he was able to dodge, like, get Castro to dodge the almost 700 assassination attempts. You know what I mean? Also, he got caught in the funniest way possible. Like, this is the worst FBI. This is the worst the FBI has ever been. At this point, motherfucker wanted to get caught, I think, so he could be in the history books. 40 years, brother.
Just moments ago in Miami, a former U.S. ambassador appeared in court after the Justice Department charged him with clandestine activity for allegedly working as a covert agent for Cuba for decades. Since 1981, 73-year-old Victor Manuel Rocha was an American diplomat for 25 years, including a stint at the State Department's U.S. interest section in Havana. NBC's Squad Venegas is outside court keeping
before you try to test my hypothetical boundaries of ration and logic, I think Jonathan Pollard should have been actually tried for treason and dealt with appropriately. He should not be able to breathe the free man's air in Israel right now. So before you go hypocrisy seeking, I will say it openly. Jonathan Pollard deserved to be tried for treason, and whatever the treatment of that would be, for leaking classified intelligence to leaking classified intelligence to Mossad. This guy, on the other hand, is a hero, and he should be celebrated. You might ask yourself the question, why, Hasan? Why do you not have the same level of opinion on this one for national security interests and matters that pertain to national security interests? It's like, because one is a victim of colonial violence and imperialist violence in perpetuity for the crime of being able to remove itself from the shackles that the largest hegemonic superpower had placed upon them. The other is a incredibly racist apartheid regime with nukes. So just so you know, I do think that there's a difference between Jonathan Pollard and my hero, my liege, this guy.
Close eye on this. Guad, what more do we know? This really does sound like something that came out of a spy thriller.
Chris, that's exactly what it felt like inside the courtroom. We were in that courtroom as the judge appeared and read the charges against Victor Manuel Rocha, accusing him of acting as a spy of a foreign government. Of course, we know with that complaint filed by the government that this relates to Cuba. Victor Manuel Rocha was born in Colombia, became a U.S. citizen, worked as a diplomat all across Latin America, an extensive career with a resume that included countries like Mexico, Argentina, the Dominican Republic, at one point the ambassador of Bolivia. And of course now this complaint indicates that the FBI was involved as they found this information that they say makes him an agent of the Cuban government, gathering intelligence that would have been used, according to the complaint, against the U.S. government. Here's the U.S. Attorney General Garland speaking about this just minutes ago.
This action exposes one of the highest reaching and longest lasting infiltrations of the U.S. government by a foreign agent. Rocha repeatedly referred to the United States as, quote, the enemy. During the undercover, he told the undercover that his efforts to infiltrate the United States government were, quote, meticulous and, quote, very disciplined. And
bro, they should be so embarrassed. Bro, he literally flexed on your haters. Imagine getting together an entire consortium of journalists to sit in front of all these flags to be like, here are the permanent L sequences that we took over the course of a long and robust diplomatic career for 40 years, and we were only able to catch him when he's 73. My man worked hard. Oh my God, dude. Oh, he was in every aspect of the American government. Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's also retired. I do unironically feel like he just kind of came out. Like, how do you, a person who did this for like 40 years, how do you get got by this current iteration of the FBI? It almost makes me feel like he wanted to get caught so he could just like flex on him. The GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. Respect, so much respect. The funniest part is like, he was so outwardly anti-Cuba. Apparently, I did a little bit of reading onto his background. And like throughout his entire career, these never realized that this guy was working for Cuba, partially because he was so outwardly portraying himself as a that like they were like, oh no, he's one of us. Like he's one of our guys. We have guys like that all over the CIA, that they literally never even caught him. The case against Rocha exposed one of the highest reaching and longest standing infiltrations of the United States government by a foreign agent. Dub. Big dub. overall. Yeah, grew up in a housing project in Harlem. Graduated from Taft School, where he was captain of the soccer team. Received master's degree in public administration from Harvard University. That's how you know, man. He went to the spy. He went to the spy factory. And the whole time he's like, yo, these Americans, man. I'm about to spy on them so hard. 2 admins, baby, back to back.
And then you can dab.
And he went to Yale. November 1981, Rocha began working for the U.S. Department of State, serving as a political officer in the Santo Domingo Dominican Republic Embassy. Then he worked as a political military affairs officer in the U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. I have no idea how to say that. Rocha next served as the first secretary of the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, Mexico. He worked as the director of Inter-American Affairs on the U.S. national security, influencing democracy with the Cuban government. Between 1995 and 1997, Rocha operated as the deputy principal officer of the U.S. interest section of the Embassy of Switzerland in Havana, Cuba, which was the de facto U.S. embassy until 2015. Rocha serves as deputy chief of the embassy in Buenos Aires. He also served in Italy. Bill Clinton himself appointed Rocha as a U.S. ambassador to Bolivia on June 14, 2000. He was sworn in July 14th. Rocha's 2002 speech, made weeks before the 2002 Bolivian general election, threatening to cut American aid to Bolivia over Evo Morales' support for the coca growers movement, has been credited with boosting Morales' movement for Socialism Party in the 2002 Bolivian general election. Oh my God. Meeting with the undercover FBI agent. Bro, can we please, do we have video footage of this? I want to see how base this man is. According to a criminal complaint filed against Rocha in the District of Southern Florida, he has admitted to gathering intelligence for Cuba since 1981. Despite the federal government's classification of the Cuban government as a sponsor of international terrorism, suck my dick, America. Sponsor of international terrorism. No, this is just from the AP article. Please, dude, if we could find the video, I would lose my shit. Venezuela is trying to annex a large proportion of the neighboring Guyana. Do you have a take/knowledge on the matter? No, I haven't heard. I don't know enough about what's going on, but not a good idea. Very bad. Okay, there you go. Don't do that. Now, I said this to Vladimir Putin beforehand as well, and then he ended up doing it, so I'm a little worried. Venezuela had a vote and has voted for annexing Guyana. I think it's pretty funny when countries go, we democratically are voting to take over another country. I don't know enough about, I personally don't know enough about Guyana. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I suspect that it is probably another, I have to read up more on it. Guyana's government is owned by Exxon, full stop. Yeah, well, regardless. Not Guyana, just Essequibo, Guyana. It has been a disputed region for over a century. This border is created by the British Empire. Don't know enough about Guyana. Disqualify, no politics ever again. The thing is, I personally found out about Guyana when I dated someone from Guyana. Like, I didn't even know. I knew next to nothing. Guyana, yeah, I also knew the Jonestown shit, but as far as Guyana goes, like, it's similar to Suriname. It's another one of those places where it's like literally a mishmash of like literally perma-colonized land that brings in slaves and indentured servants from straight up the entire planet. And then the consequence of that is that they have like this incredible culture that is like part Caribbean, part black, like African, part indigenous, part Indian. Is wild. Part Chinese even. It's wild, dude. It's crazy. Yeah, I dated Surinamese girls here in the Netherlands and they are fine as yeah, I mean Suriname is I found out about Suriname when I went to the Netherlands. That's another country that I didn't really know anything about. But that's like a straight up melting pot for sure. Rocha further explained that I always told myself the only thing that could put everything we've done here in danger is someone's betrayal, someone who may have met me, someone who may have known something at that point. Rocha assured the UC, the undercover guy, I think, that my number one concern, my number one priority was that any action on the part of Washington that would endanger the life of the leadership or the revolution itself, I want to kiss this man. Dude, how sick. My warmest regards to the Direction, and after the UC promised to do so, Rocha said the following. It was decades. I mean, the decades that were deep. How many years? Almost 40. Wow. A lot of danger. They must have told you something because you mentioned Chile. That inspired trust in me. And at the same time, I thought if there's a traitor and they know that I was in Chile, I have to tell you something. Tell me. It gives a lot of pride and satisfaction to see that people like Miguel, who are much younger, but thank you, who are there. Thank you. Doing. This is not easy. No, it is not easy. No, it is a struggle. It is not easy, but we are fighting. This is not easy. Thank you for your friendship and help for so many years, right? Thank you very much. Bastard, undercover agent. Have some decency. You're talking to a goddamn hero. Of course, no problem. This is a huge sacrifice, huge, with a lot of tension that you have to manage internally, with self-discipline all the time. When you have the conviction, you have self-discipline. If you had any fucking honor, you would have recognized that you were talking to a goddamn hero, and you would have saved him. You would have destroyed this goddamn investigation. Fake friends, dude. Phony friends in the FBI. Anyway, what else did they say?
And he repeatedly bragged about the significance of his efforts, saying that, quote, what has been done has strengthened the revolution immensely.
U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland speaking about this complaint against Rocha. Now, when we were in the courtroom, we saw Rocha waiting for minutes before the hearing began. At one point, wiping his eyes, blowing his nose. We saw his attorney arrive, tap him on the back. He looked like he was very emotional. And at some point, the judge also spoke to the prosecutors about a video. The judge said that he was able to see a video, and he asked them to share that video, which we assume is evidence, with Rocha and his attorney as they move forward. The prosecutors are asking the judge to keep him detained. The next hearing is set for next week, for which they will be arguing for him to have the ability to continue with this process after posting bond. So that would be the next hearing. But as of now, we're learning more and more details about this. And like you mentioned, Chris, it's like a spy movie. Of course, what we know now is that they're accusing him of working for Cuba for decades. Now, the prosecutors also said that they plan on filing more charges tomorrow. So we might have even more details of what could have been done or what they're accusing him of doing during these decades, as they say he worked for the Cuban government, Chris.
Bro, they're accusing him of being awesome. Anyway.
Let's bring you some developing news coming out. 5 Bulgarian nationals suspected of spying for...
Oh, boo. This is irrelevant and boring. I don't care about that. 1, spying on the UK, who gives a shit. 2, spying for Russia, doubly who gives a shit. Who gives a shit?
You could look at any existing socialist country. If you don't want to call them socialist, call them whatever you want. Post-capitalist, whatever. I don't care. Call them camels, window shades. Doesn't matter. As long as we know the countries we're talking about. You can look at any one of those countries, and you can evaluate them in several ways. 1, comparing them to what they had before. And that, to me, is what's very compelling. That's what's so compelling about Cuba, for instance. When I was in Cuba, I was up in the Escambray, which is like the Appalachia of Cuba, very rugged mountains. The people, very poor, they were. And I said to this campesino, I said, do you like Fidel? And he said, sí, with all our souls. I remember his gesture, with all our souls. I said, why? And he pointed to this clinic right up there on the hill, which we had visited. He said, look at that. He said, before the revolution, we never saw a doctor. If someone was seriously ill, it would take 20 people to carry that person, because you'd go day and night. It would take 2 days to get to the hospital. First, because it was far away, and second, because you couldn't go straight. You couldn't cross the latifundio lands. The boss would kill you. So you had to go like this. And often when we got to the hospital, the person might be dead by the time we got there. Now we have this clinic up here with a full-time doctor. And today, a doctor in Cuba, when you become a doctor, you've got to spend 2 years out in the country. That's your dedication to the people. And a dentist who comes 1 day a week.
It's really funny that this is such a foreign concept for Americans, by the way. The fact that the government pays for the doctors to get their doctorate, and then in order to repay their debt for all of the education that the government provided for them, they go and they serve in the countryside. This is the concept. This is the same principle in Turkey, too. Much poorer nations than the United States of America are able to pull this off. Meanwhile, under the supposedly better private healthcare structure that we have here in the United States of America, bitch, you don't even have any doctors in the urban areas. I mean, in the suburban area, in the rural areas, sorry. You got no doctors in the rural areas. Like pre-revolutionary Cuba out here in the Appalachian.
And for more serious things, we're not more than 20 minutes away from a larger hospital. That's in the Escambray. I said, that's freedom. We're freer today. We have more life. And I talked to a guy in Havana who says to me, Before, all I used to see here in Havana, you call this drab and dull. We see it as a cleaner city. It's true, you got the paint is peeling off the walls, but you don't see kids begging in the streets anymore, and you don't see prostitutes. All we used to have was prostitutes. Prostitution used to be one of the biggest industries. And today, this man is going to night school. He said, I can read. I can read. Do you know what it means to be able to read? Do you know what it means to be able not to read? I remember when I gave my book to my father, I dedicated a book of mine, Power and the Powerless, to my father. I said, to my father with my love. Gave him a copy of the book. He opened it up, looked at that. He'd only gone to the 7th grade. He was a son of an immigrant, a working class Italian. And he opens the book and he starts looking through it. And he gets misty-eyed, very misty-eyed. And I thought it's because he was so touched that his son had dedicated a book to him. That wasn't the reason. He looks up to me and says, I can't read this, kid. I said, that's okay, Dad. Neither can the students. I mean, that's not something... I mean, don't worry about that. I wrote it for you. I mean, it's your book, and you don't have to read it. You know, it's a very complicated book, an academic book. He says, yeah, I can't read this book. And the defeat that man felt. That's what illiteracy is about. That's what the joy of literacy programs is. That's why in Nicaragua you got people walking proud now for the first time. They were animals before. They weren't allowed to read. They weren't taught to read. And that's why I support revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support. Not blindly, not unqualifiedly. And the Reaganite government that tries to stop that kind of process, that tries to keep those people in poverty and illiteracy and hunger, that gets my undiluted animosity and opposition.
That's the yellow man. You don't have, yeah, someone in the chat said it already, but you don't have to look too far. Without revolution, Cuba ends up looking like modern Haiti. Ironic, because the Haitian Revolution happened, and it was incredibly important.